Hello and welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. This is my channel to talk about all things to do with crochet and knitting and crafty things. My name is Ali. I live in Kent in the very southeast of the UK with my husband and our two daughters, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Starry or as Ali. I'm at home on a Tuesday morning. It's 11:30. I'm hiding up in the bedroom. Everybody is downstairs playing a Hannah Montana dancing game on the Wii that I found in a charity shop for £1 yesterday. So that's keeping everyone quiet for a little while, and I thought I'd try and sneak in a very quick podcast before we go away on holiday and before we get into the thick of the August break, basically, because I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to film anything other than maybe some vloggy footage when we go to France next week, until really the end of August, beginning of September. Because it's the school break and everything is up in the air at the moment. So yeah, and I'm also back at work. So I've been working sort of my hours spread out over the whole week ever since the beginning of lockdown. And I work in a museum, for those of you that are new or weren't aware. I work in a museum part-time. I usually work 2 full days a week, but I've been spreading those hours across every day of the week whilst I've been working at home, just so I could juggle it with homeschooling and also my husband's work. But I am now back as of last week. I'm back in the office 2 full days a week in the museum. The museum isn't actually properly open yet, and it has been really good to get back, to see some of my colleagues that have also made it back, and to just start being in the building with the collection and just being in the place where, you know, my job is all about. So it's really good. It's very strange, but it is really good. The museum is actually based on a hospital site, so it makes things a little bit more complicated for us in terms of opening up, but we are doing it. We are doing it slowly. We're starting with guided tours this Saturday, so it's really exciting. Right, that was a bit of a tangent. We're going to be talking today about some finished objects, which I'm absolutely blown away that I have quite so many, but I've got at least 5 finished things of varying crafts to show you since I last podcasted. I've got a couple of whips I'm going to share with you. I've got so many whips, I'm not going to share with you all of them. I'm just going to share with you some key whips. A couple of incoming things, and then I'm going to talk about quite a few books and things. I started last episode adding a little books and stuff segment, and I forgot to mention one of the audio things I'd wanted to share with you, and I've also got some books I wanted to tell you about that I'm planning on taking with me on holiday, and one that I'm reading at the moment. It's as bad as the whips, all the books that I've got on the go. And then just some life general blah at the end. So let's get started with finished objects. I shall just have a sip of my tea. I haven't used this mug in ages. It used to be my work mug when I worked at a hospital. And it's been in the cupboard ever since I moved to the museum. Never was there a truer phrase. I need to find somewhere to put this down now. Okay, finished objects. Excuse me if I keep doing a sort of awkward look down here, because I'm having to podcast in my bedroom at the moment because everybody is here. The setup is a little bit awkward, so I've kind of got a box of yarn, and on it is Balance My Notes. So I'm going to start with a bag. Now, when I was doing the lockdown vlogs back in March, April, May, June and a little bit of July, just a few little videos, I went into a box that I had on top of a cupboard here in my bedroom and found a load of sort of projects that were kind of almost finished but had just been put in this box and left, and they must have been there since we moved in, so they must have been there for about at least 4 years. And some of them literally required only the most minimal of finishing in order to get them done. So I don't know what the past me was thinking when they shoved it all in a box. So my first 2 finished objects are 2 of the things that are in that box, if you're following and if any of this makes sense. So one of them was this bag. I'm really pleased with this. It was all cut out, everything was sewn together. The outside had the box bottom done already. All that I needed to do was sew up the lining and then sew the 2 together. Everything else was done. Even the handles had been sort of tacked on. So the outside, I remember buying this fabric in Whitstable, in a little fabric shop in Whitstable, this kind of little linen style type fabric. It's a very difficult fabric to work with, actually. It's very kind of, it moves a lot. And then the patchwork bit is just all fabrics from projects past. This is a lovely Cath Kidston fabric. I have a cushion in this fabric in my bedroom, and the girls both have cushions, and it appears everywhere in the house. Here's that one, isn't it? Yeah. And then that green one is a vintage duvet. The pink is from a bag that I made for Lilia. And that checked one is an organic cotton. And this one right at the bottom is one of the first fabrics I ever bought. It's from Hobbycraft. When I was starting to get into crafting and sewing and stuff. And it's actually got a recessed zipper. So, and that was all done as well. So I wish I knew what pattern it was. I had to kind of work out how the finishing stitching was going to go, because obviously I had no idea what pattern past me had used. But I wish I could find it. I might do a bit of research, because that recessed zipper is brilliant. So from the outside it just looks like a normal tote bag, but actually it's secure and fully enclosed with a zip. It's lined with an organic green cotton, and the past me had even put in a pocket. And this is past me's little buttons. Now, many moons ago, I used to have a blog. It's probably still there. I'm going to refer to it again in a minute. And it was called Snip Snap Happy. And it was just about my crafting adventures. So I had these little wooden tags made. I'd like to get those made again now for my Little Drops of Wonderful, or dodgy bag. I'd love to get some made for dodgy bags. Might have to look into that as well. I'll add those things to the to-do list. So yeah, I am really pleased with that. It may well come on holiday with us, because it's a really handy size. It's nice and light for shopping, and really pleased with it. So that's my first finished object, courtesy partly of present me and partly past me. And also in that same box there was a doll that I had made that was completely ready. All I needed to do was sew it together and stuff it. I'd done all the details and everything. It is a Matryoska doll. And this is from my own pattern. When I did that Snip Snap Happy blog, I made a little pattern to make these little Russian doll inspired dolls out of felt. So I don't know if you can see, but this is just made with very cheap felt actually from Hobbycraft. And the face is made with an organic, I can't remember what the actual fabric is. It's a type of organic bamboo fabric, I think. And then the little cheeks and the features I just drew on with a Sharpie. And then I decorated with a lovely button, and there's some decoration here. I've made loads of these dolls in the past. I don't know if I've got any good quality photos. If I have, I'll put one on the screen. And I did have the template for how to make it, and I even did a tutorial on my old blog. Now I'm happy to resurrect that and put in links and draw out the template in a easier to download, more recent type of format if anybody is interested. Yeah, but yeah, it's lovely. The reason I decided to base it on the traditional Matryoska dolls is because my girls collect the stacking Russian dolls, and they absolutely love them, and I wanted to make one to represent that they could actually cuddle when they were younger, well, when Lilia was younger. So they've each got one of these, and they pop up all over the house, these things. I think I must have gone through a phase of making lots of them. So this one just needed sewing up. So this is our latest one. So she's going to live proudly in my craft shed when it gets sorted. Hopefully, I'm hoping, it probably won't be this year, but next year. So I've got a box of things that are going to go into my craft shed. But in the meantime, I think she can keep me company in the bedroom. There you go. She can go and sit next to this deck chair here. Okay, the next things that I have finished, I have 3 little bears. Now when I spoke to you in the last podcast, I was in the middle of making a bear for each for the girls. We're going to France on Saturday. I feel a bit nervous about it. We've got an air bridge here in the UK with France, which means we don't have to quarantine when we arrive, and we don't have to quarantine when we get back. We have to observe, obviously, all of the usual social distancing and safety measures in France. We are driving, so we're not flying or anything like that. We don't need to get any form of public transport other than the tunnel, which we go through in our car. We have no real reason to get out and wander about. It only takes about half an hour from Folkestone here in Kent over to Calais in France. And then we'll be driving down to a private house that we've rented in Brittany, very near to Dinan, or I don't know if that's how you say it, which is only about half an hour, 40 minutes from Saint Malo. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to safely visit there. And we have our own pool there as well, so we're really looking forward to it, and we really do feel that to go is a safe choice because we really don't need to do anything that's going to put us in direct, huge contact with lots of other people. We don't holiday like that anyway, really. So anyway, all this to say that when we travel, whether it's to Scotland or France or anywhere, and we do usually drive, and it's usually quite a long journey of at least 8 hours, I always put together a little bag of stuff for the car for the girls. So I'll normally have pens, tissues, stuff for the journey, some sweets. I always make them something handmade to go in it. So this time I decided to make the Ozo Donato Amigurumi bear. It's a free pattern by Lucia Lanucas. Now it's free on her blog, and I'll put the link underneath. And this is the first one. This was for Lilia. I'm really pleased with him, he's so cute. I used a combination of Paintbox Simply DK, Paintbox Simply Cotton DK, sorry, that's the dark grey, and then these ones were in a little mini amigurumi set from Katia that was a gift, to do the little details here and the feet and the nose, and I've always got safety eyes and noses. The Paintbox Simply DK Cotton one is only about £2 a ball, and I used, to make 2 of these bears, I used 2 balls. So that's £4 to make 2 bears, not bad. So this is Lilia's. This is Phoebe's. Now, don't ask me why Phoebe's is shorter, because I did them in exactly the same way with exactly the same yarn. But this is Phoebe's one. So there's our 2 bears for the travel bags. But before I reached the point of making these ones, I had already started making another one but ran out of yarn. But I have now finished it, and the reason I finished it was because Rel, who is the dabbling hook, she pointed out that if you run out of yarn, just use other yarn, don't worry about it, just mix it in. So I found some other greys in my stash, and I just striped some slightly different greys, and I think one of them might have even been it wasn't the same yarn, but it was so close to the original colour it might as well have been. So you can't even really tell that I've used a different yarn to finish off the head. So I ran out of yarn about here, and everything up, including the ears, are a different colour. But I don't think you can even tell. He's a lot smaller than the other ones as well. But that might be because the yarn is a bit different. I made all of these with DK weight yarn and a 2.5mm hook, which is quite small for a DK yarn. But I like my amigurumi to have nice tight stitches so that the stuffing doesn't come out. So this is the third one. So he's going to be for Dan and I on the journey. And I think that'll be a nice surprise for the girls to see that we've got a third bear lurking in the car when they discover theirs. The only thing I did differently to the pattern was when I did the single crochet stitches together, single crochet 2 together, I used an invisible single crochet 2 together stitch, which I learned when I did the little mini amigurumi hearts, and I really like that decrease because honestly it really is invisible. You can't see it in the same way that you would do a normal one, so it's definitely worth googling the invisible two single crochet together stitch. I feel like I can't talk properly today. These are so tactile, I can't stop squishing them. They're so cute. And I have 3. Okay, final finished object, I think. Yeah, final finished object. Speaking of Rel, who was the one that recommended I just use what yarn I had for this little bear. Now Rel is a really good amigurumi maker and a fantastic crocheter and a brilliant designer as well. And so she knows what a fellow amigurumi lover likes, and she bought me this little pattern as a gift, and it is the Starshine amigurumi. It's so cute when I hold it up to the camera. The Starshine amigurumi. It's a pattern by Pricilla Brooks, and it is available. I've got it on Ravelry. I didn't check if it's available outside of Ravelry. If it is, I will put the link underneath. The pattern for the bears is a free pattern on the blog, and I'll put the pattern for that underneath as well. So if you are having any problems with Ravelry at all, definitely for the bears you won't have to go and get the pattern there. And if there is a link outside of Ravelry for this or any of the things I talk about, I will pop a link in the show notes as well as the Ravelry link as well. Yeah, so she bought me this pattern and I had the yarn already. I knew exactly. I had this yellow yarn. It is Cedar Simply Recycled. It's a cotton and acrylic, recycled cotton and acrylic blend. And then Rel had done these little decorations on the one she made. So of course I had to completely rip off her idea and copy her. So I just made a little tiny star using the Attic 24 tiny star pattern. It's curling up, and then I just left some little tufts as little tassels and just sewed it on. And the moment this was finished, Phoebe nabbed it. She just couldn't get over how cute it was, and it's been in her room ever since, and I've just had to go and recover it to show you. So this is a free pattern. It's not a free pattern, what am I talking about? So the pattern will be linked underneath, and yeah, I would highly recommend it. She has a tutorial, video tutorial to go with it as well, because it is a slightly unusual construction. It uses increases and then short rows. And I didn't realise, or I had forgotten that she had a video tutorial. Otherwise I would have watched it. So I kind of muddled through, but I need to make another one because of course Lilia wants one too. So I will watch the video next time, but it's so cute. I'm going to put that here as well. I should have a little line of bears and things all along here. Look, it's Ali and Friends. Okay, right. Let's move on to works in progress. Like I said, I have got many works in progress, and if you've been following for any length of time, you will have seen all of them at varying points and stages in their creation. But given that I've got to keep this short so that I've got time to edit it before we go away, I have selected 3 to show you. I'm just going to have a gulp of tea and then I'll get stuck into whips. Right, first whip. What should we show you? This one. This was one that I recovered. It was languishing in a bag of forgotten projects. I have more of those than I care to speak about at the moment. And I just thought, I'm going to finish that. And I've made really good inroads into it. So this is the rather catchily named Striped Bag 29211044. It is by Piro Yarns, a Japanese company. It is available on their blog. It is free, or should I say on their website. It is a free pattern, and it is a charted pattern with some very vague, slightly confusing written instructions included. I've had to do a lot of searching through other people's projects and on Google to try and work out quite what some of it meant. And then I came back to it and thought, right, I'm just going to follow it literally. And then I started to slowly work out what the instructions meant. So first of all, I have made a gigantic granny square. It's slightly bigger than the pattern calls for, but only by about 3 or 4 centimetres on each side. I have then moved on to do the sides, which is where you do some stripes on one side and the other side. The next stage is to fold this over double on itself and sew it down like that. This is the inside that I am showing you. Yeah, so that'll be sewed down on the inside. And then I have to, what do I have to do then? Now to bring it up like that, so the sides are together on each side. And then I have to crochet the mouth of it at the top, which will bunch it all in and make it really like fat bottomed. And at some point I have to line it. So I bought some really lovely, where have I put it? Oh, it's on my lap. Really lovely fabrics. I wanted to get a fabric that was the same on the right and wrong side so that the lining would look good when you looked in, but also because this is quite a loosely crocheted granny square, you can see kind of through it. Hello. I wanted to make sure that any fabric showing through was also the same nice solid colour and not like a faded sort of reverse side colour. So I bought this sort of khaki green poplin, cotton poplin fabric on eBay. It was about £7 for a metre, which I thought was quite good, and I bought enough to line the bag, but also I've made Dan a spare mask. Oh god, the camera doesn't like focusing on that, so I'll just keep it over here. I've made him a second mask with this fabric because he wanted something a bit just dark and plain, so I've done that already. And then it looks really nice. I've held it up against the, so you can see it looks nice behind the gap there. I thought that looked, yeah, I thought that set the colours off nicely without being too distracting in its own right. So I now need to cut out the shape for the lining, and the pattern gets you to sew the lining in right at the end, and you do it by hand. But I'm wondering if it might be a good point now to sew the lining in before I do the mouth of the bag and cinch it all in. I'm not sure. So I'm at a stage of this where it's actually a really simple project, but I'm having to kind of work out what the best method of doing it would be. And that takes some brain power. So I keep having to put it down and put it to one side. But actually, I think in total, there's probably less than an hour's work left to do on it. I've just got to get my head round it. So, but I'm really looking forward to having that finished. And it has, the finished bag will have handles. And I've got these sparkly ones that were a friend from my gift. A gift from my friend Lou. And I can give you a rough idea of what it will look like when it's finished. Actually, no, I won't, because this is a really rubbish printout. I'll just put a picture up, or will have put a picture up whilst I'm talking. So that's whip number 1 that I'm showing you. Whip number 2 that I'm showing, oh no, yeah, no, whip number 2 is one, sorry if I shook the camera there, is one that I started as a car project. This will probably be the only project I take with me. Now we've got quite a long drive there and quite a long drive back. So to take only one project, you know, I may just finish it. I don't knit the whole way in the car because I think that would drive me mad just doing it for 8 hours. But it's in my Ollie and Bella bag. This is from my lovely friend Cherie at Ollie and Bella. And it's a pair of socks. And I haven't had socks on the needles in ages. And I'm making just some stripy socks using a mini set from my friend Becky at Back to Blighty. The mini set just smells gorgeous. All of Becky's yarn smells so good. So when you open the bag, you're just like, smells lovely. This was a gift from Becky last year, and this is her logo, and the set is called Crocus. I think she sent it to me at springtime last year. So it's springy colours. It's a set of 4 colours. Oh, here we go. Going to get all tangled up now. You get this lovely lavendery colour and yellow. And then you also have this sort of gorgeous combination of the two. Can she hold 4 colours in her freakishly small hands? And that's the 4th colour. So there you go, that's Crocus. And I'm just getting tangled up. I'm just striping them. So I'm knitting them with DPNs because that's my favourite way to knit socks at the moment. I know that a lot of us have a favourite way and then it just seems to change and then it changes back or it changes to something else. But at the moment I'm loving DPNs. Oh, sorry, I didn't say. This little DPN holder was made for me by lovely Suzanne. She's inside number 22 on Instagram. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? Just love it. I love little things like this when they just give you so much pleasure just to take them out and use them because they're so pretty, functional but beautiful. So that's my DPN holder. Woo! There goes my DPN. Just trying to spread it out a bit so I can show you. And this is how far I've got. Help if I didn't have a needle in my mouth. This is how far I've got with the first sock. So I used a, what's the name of the cast on I like? Focus. The cast on I think is is it the Norwegian cast on? I think that's what it's called. I use it all the time now for everything, but I can never remember what it's called, but it creates a really pretty edge. I really like it. 2x2 rib, starting with yellow, and then I've gone into the first speckled, then the purple. The next one will be the lighter purple speckled, and then the then that's it, then back to yellow. Yeah, so that's going to be, it works up quick because when you're working through the colours it just seems to go really fast. And I'm switching every 10 rows, I think I decided. Yeah, every 10 rows, so I've switched halfway through the rib, or well, just over halfway through the rib, and kept going. So I'm really, really pleased with those. That's going to be my car knitting. And the reason that I'm not taking anything else, because obviously we are going away for a week, is because I want to dedicate some more time to reading, because I don't feel I do enough of that. And I also want to dedicate more time to drawing, because I have been trying to get into the practice every day of drawing every day, and I'm not always very successful at doing that. In fact, the last few days I haven't done any because it's just been so busy with work and trying to get ready for holiday. I feel like I'm like really slouched like that. I need to try and sit up. Yeah, so I want to make sure that I've got my knitting for the car, or if I fancy a little knit while I'm away, but I'm also allowing myself time to do other things and to just step away from knitting. It's going to be probably too hot to do a hell of a lot of knitting anyway, and I also intend to do a lot of swimming as well. So that's why I'm only taking enough to just keep me amused in the car. So that's my holiday knitting. So I'm going to chuck that across the room so that I don't forget to put it in my bag. Okay, my final work in progress. Oh no, hang on, I've got another one that I wanted to, right, no, hang on. I wanted to talk about the Molly Hugh hat as well, even though I haven't done much work on it. Let me just check my notes, check I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, so the Molly Hugh hat is a pattern by Shin, who is Shiny Superhero on Ravelry and Instagram. Now, this pattern is on Ravelry, so I don't know. I did have a look this morning. I don't know if it is available anywhere else. I certainly, when I had a very quick search around this morning, I couldn't find it. But it's called the Molly Hugh hat. It's a beautiful colourwork hat. Shin does the most amazing colourwork and intarsia patterns, and they're so original. I really I don't know if I'm brave enough to wear some of them, but I would love to that her latest, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent when I shouldn't be, but she's a really interesting designer. I definitely recommend you check her out on Instagram. And I'm really loving my colour choices, but I haven't got any further along with this. I'll just give you a quick close-up, even though there's not a lot to see. But I just wanted to show you how delicious those colours are. They're so lovely. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the colours work up into the pattern. But I knit continental, and I am determined that I want to be able to knit colourwork, knitting continental, holding the yarns in the same hand. I don't want to have the yarns in different hands. I want to hold them in the same hand, and I want to be able to knit and carry floats and everything, all doing it by grabbing the yarn like I do currently. I found a really good tutorial, but I really need to sit and knit along with her, like slow it right down and do it along with her. And it's Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. It looks like she posted the video quite some time ago, but she has a colourwork knitting tutorial for holding the yarn continental in your left hand. So I need to spend a bit more time with Kristen going through that, because yeah, I'm determined to try and crack colourwork. I think I love knitting, I love crochet, and there's always something new to learn, and I think sometimes I just allow myself to get a bit too comfortable, which is also fine. I love a little bit of vanilla knitting and just granny stitch and everything like that, but it's also really good to be able to challenge yourself, to learn something new when you look at something and think, I'll never be able to do that. Like I look at Constance, who is, what is her Instagram name? Cleo something, I'll put it on the screen. If you look at her feed, the jumpers, the sweaters that she makes are the most intricate colourwork and she just seems to knock them out all the time. She just seems to do it. But she must have learned at some point to do that, and it takes practice. It's like drawing. You have to sit down, you have to learn the techniques, you have to make things, you have to start with a hat, and you have to just keep going, don't you? So I'm determined, even if it takes me years, to crack this. So that's what I wanted to say about my Molly Hugh hat. I'm really looking forward to doing it, and that is living in my Piggy's Market bag. I absolutely love this bag. Love it. Okay, really my final work in progress. I think I'm all right for battery. I've probably rabbited on for way longer than I need to. I said it was going to be quick. It's not going to be, is it? It never is. It never is. Yeah, so my final work in progress kind of melds into incoming. So I'm going to sort of do it at the same time. Or I'm going to do this to sort of take us into incoming. So living in my lovely bag by a lovely view of this podcast. Lovely, lovely, lovely. By Lynn. I love this bag. Absolutely love it. It's got a cactus on it. Is my Waru shawl. Now, if you've been watching this podcast, you've seen this 100 times. I know I talk about it all the time. And last time I spoke about how I'd got to the end of the 3rd colour and I was just trying to make a decision about the 4th colour, and I asked you for your opinions and you were so helpful. Some people said green because we were saying, or I was saying, that it represents like the sea. It's like the sea. It wasn't meant to, but that's how it turned out. The sea, the wash and the sand. So some people suggested maybe a really light yellow for hot sand, going from wet sand. Some people said green for the dunes. Some people said grey for rocks or pebbles. And some people said maybe white to represent maybe the white cliffs of Dover. There were other suggestions to it, and they were all absolutely brilliant. Oh, and rust, a rusty orange was another suggestion, which I loved as well. But in the end, someone said, and apologies, I didn't write down your name, that they studied, I think it was fashion, and they were saying that it was really useful to choose a theme because it really kept you on track when choosing colours and how that really worked. So when I started to think of it like that, I thought to myself, right, if I was thinking of my favourite place to go by the sea, it would have to be probably Westgate here in Kent. And that goes sea, sand, and then there's the sea wall. And the sea wall is grey. So I went for grey. And I haven't actually, haven't even looked down yet. I haven't actually held this grey up. I did quite a lot of research online, staring at patterns and holding my project up against the screen. So I haven't actually seen them together yet to check that this is the right kind of grey. I ordered it from gorgeous Helen at Giddy Yarns, who I think is a really great dyer, and she just seems to keep getting better and better. Focus. There's her label. The colourway I bought is called Ashes. It's on her merino nylon base. There's all the details. That's the colour, showing up pretty true to colour, I would say. And here is, for the first time, this is going to be really hard to do. Here is how it's going to be. So it's going to go into the grey of the seawall and the rocks that form the edge of the sand. And I absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to ball this up. Probably not until I get back from holiday now, unless I can't resist and have to get started immediately. So that is my Waru shawl. The 4th colour has been decided. It's gorgeous. I love it. It is perfect. Watch this space. Come September, maybe it'll even be finished. So moving on to incoming things. Helen, so I ordered the yarn and it arrived, and there was another skein of yarn in it because Helen had very kindly, thank you Helen, I haven't messaged you yet, I'll message you after I film this. Helen had very kindly popped in an extra skein as a prize, which means we currently have our first prize of 2020 for the Strictly Sock Along. And yes people, Strictly Come Dancing 2020 will be happening. I have researched it. I have Googled it. I've been onto the Radio Times website. It is happening. It is happening slightly differently. I don't think there'll be as many dancers and it won't go on for as long as usual, and I'm sure things will look very different, but it is happening. And even if it wasn't happening, the Strictly Sock Along does not need Strictly to happen. That would be the biggest cheat of all time, wouldn't it? Because the Strictly Sock Along is all about breaking the rules and cheating as much as you can. So if Strictly wasn't on and we still ran the Strictly Sock Along, well, that would be an epic cheat. But fortunately it is on, or unfortunately, depending on how dedicated you are to rule breaking. And this is our very first prize by Giddy Yarns. It's a DK. It's on her Superwash Merino DK. It's 100% Superwash Merino. Focus. It's from her Nostalgia Club, 1940s, which I really loved the idea of, and I don't know, I think I just didn't go for it because I'm trying to be good and not buy too much yarn. But this is her Make, Do and Mend colourway. Isn't that beautiful? So that is the first prize, Strictly Sock Along 2020. Thank you so much, Helen, for including that. I'm going to start my Strictly 2020 box and start putting things in there already. Other incoming things that I'm going to share with you. First of all, I got a gorgeous present in the post from Mary Lou, who is a viewer of this podcast. She contacted me to say that she had a little something she wanted to send. It arrived last week. And, well, I'm just going to show it to you. You can imagine my reaction. It's a lobster bag! Oh my goodness. If you are new to this podcast and weren't aware, I'm slightly obsessed with lobsters. I absolutely love them. We went, oh my goodness, I'm going to put a picture on the screen. We went accidentally geocaching yesterday. We went to a ruin, an abbey ruin that's about 20 minutes from here that I used to go to when I was a child, and my mum still takes the girls all the time. We just really needed to get out the house, so we went to Abbey Woods. Which is where the ruin is. Went to Lesness Abbey, if you want to Google it and look it up, or look at it on Google Maps. And on the way back to the car, we noticed there was a couple of geocaches in the woods, so we stopped and we got them both. And in one of them, there was a lobster. We opened it and we were like, oh, there's a lobster! So we nabbed the lobster. I've always got in my rucksack a little case with some little swaps in that we can put into geocaches just in case we come across them. So the first one, there were some Chinese coins in there. The girls were absolutely thrilled to find those. So they took a little Chinese coin each and I put in some little angel charms. And yeah, the second one, a lobster. So now we've got a lobster geocaching kind of lucky charm, which I'm going to keep in my rucksack. He's called Les the lobster, because we found him near Lesness Abbey. Anyway, I digress. Lovely Les the lobster bag, and it's a drawstring bag. I'm not going to put it right the way closed because I've got the letter and the card inside, and it's got a little handle. I'm going to have to work out how to do that. I love that little handle. And she also sent me a picture of Roger. Roger is a cat. I mean, he's magnificent. So now Roger, meet the world, world, meet Roger. Thank you, Mary Lou. We absolutely love Roger. And she also sent me this gorgeous little notebook as well, which of course is yellow. My other great love. Lobsters and yellow. You know, and my husband and the kids. So thank you so much, Mary Lou. I'm going to put that to very, very good use. The last incoming thing is something I bought, and on the theme of wanting to draw more, I bought myself a proper sketchbook. I've been thinking about doing this for some time, because until now I've just been doing my sketches on index cards, which is probably not the best of paper to be practicing on. So I bought myself a proper little sketchbook. It's this one. It's Sea White of Brighton. It was about £10, and it's got about 30 pages, really, really good quality paper. Yeah, and it feels really sturdy, like those pages are going to stay put, and I'm going to start using an actual proper little sketchbook when I go away. I've always kept little sketchbooks and holiday diaries with just silly little cartoons, but now I'm going to try and up my game and do actual sketches, and try not to judge myself too much as I do it. I'm going to The problem is with a new sketchbook is you don't want to ruin it, but the first thing you probably need to do with a sketchbook is ruin it. I did read a thing online where they said whenever they buy a new sketchbook, they just do the quickest, maddest, least careful sketch they can ever think, could ever do on the first page, and then it's ruined already, and then you don't need to worry about ruining it, which I thought was a really, really, really good idea. So yeah, watch this space. I don't know if I'm brave enough to share any of my drawings, maybe in the future. So that's it for incoming. Now I wanted to talk about books and stuff because I've got quite a few things I wanted to share with you. Okay, so I've got a pile of books here, but I'm going to just talk about the audio book that I didn't mention last time because I got distracted talking about everything else. So I've been listening. I'm on episode 3? No, I'm on the 3rd instalment of In Search of Black History by Bonnie Greer. Now, Bonnie Greer is an American-British writer. I think she's a playwright as well, maybe a theatre critic. And she's from America, but I think she's lived in the UK since like the 80s, like a long time. And she has a Audible exclusive, and it's not an audio book, it's more like a series. It's like an 8-part series where she travels back in time and she talks to experts and academics about their research and how they're uncovering sort of the lost stories of people of African descent throughout history. It's not a fiction. It's a history. It's a true history, but it's kind of a really kind of evocative retelling of the stories, and it's all done. I mean, she's got again, I've talked about this before with audiobooks about being able to listen to the person who's narrating it. So with Bonnie Greer, you could listen to her until the cows came home. She's got a very easy to listen to voice. She tells the story perfectly, but it's all interspersed with this beautiful music as well. So it's a really kind of immersive thing to listen to. It goes all the way back to Roman times, through the transatlantic slave trade and right up until the 20th century. The best word I can use about it is probably it transports you. It transports you back to another place in time. It takes you right back when she's talking about where she is and she's talking to the experts and she's kind of trying to evoke the sense of that story that she's describing. She's taking you right back with the way she speaks, the way she's written it, and the music that goes with it. It is absolutely brilliant. I would really highly recommend it. I've only listened to the first 3, so I've got another 5 to listen to whilst we're away. Which I'll probably listen to lying by the pool. I can imagine that this is going to be a fantastic thing to listen to lying by the pool and just being able to concentrate. Well, it's probably very wishful thinking, to be honest, because I've got 2 children, so there's probably not going to be a lot of lying by the pool. And I'm not really much of a lying by the pool type of person anyway, but I would like at least 20 minutes to at least sit and listen to Bonnie. I would also say, I'm only on the 3rd episode, but I think it would be really good for kids. So I'm wondering if I might play episode 1 in the car as we're travelling and just see how that goes down with the rest of the family, because I know Dan would love it, but yeah, I wonder if the kids, they're really interested in history and talking about race. It's something that we talk about a lot as a family, and yeah, certainly I would be very happy for the kids to listen to it, the way the stories are told and the way she looks into the history and describes things. I think would be really, really good. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. Also, currently reading an actual physical book. Did I pick this up off of my bedside table? Yes, I did. Okay, so the book I'm currently reading was a gift from my sister a few Christmases ago. It is Something Fresh by P.G. Wodehouse. This is the cover. It's a Blandings novel, which means it's set at Blandings. They've only just got to Blandings and I'm just over a third of the way through, so they've only just got there. I have to say I've had a slight struggle getting into this book. Obviously it was written in, when was it written? 1915 it was first published. So it's a slightly different way of writing. It's a very light-hearted book. It's funny. but I'm not sort of rushing to bed going, yay, I can read my book tonight. Although I am getting more used to it now. I think initially I was struggling to like take on board all the characters and remember who they were and how they interacted with each other. Anyway, oh, she didn't give it to me for Christmas. She gave it to me for my 40th birthday. And she said I have to read it in the summer when it's unbearably warm, because my sister doesn't like summer either. She says it's always summer at Blandings and it's the only way to make the season bearable. So yeah, so I am getting more and more into this, but I'm not taking it with me. I'm leaving this at home because I've got a few books that I'm going to take with me. Again, this is really wishful thinking, but I have selected 3 books. I think I'm actually only going to take the 2 shorter ones. These are all books from my book stash that have been on my bookshelves for ages that I haven't got round to reading. The first one is by Libby Purvis, who's a British writer. It's called Continental Drift. My mum bought me this. And the blurb says, Henry is a radio DJ, young, hip and single, but fretting about his little son. Philip is an ex-MP ruined by scandal and disowned by his party. Diana, his long-suffering wife, is struggling to find a life of her own. Marianne is 3 stone overweight after glumly replacing her husband with chocolate eclairs and gin. Lizzie is battling with illness and trying not to think about it. And it's about how these people all come together. Like I say, I haven't read it yet, and it's quite a short book. So I am looking forward to giving that a go. I once, without realising it, did a mosaic course down in Broadstairs with Libby Purvis. And we sat next to each other and chatted the whole weekend, and it wasn't until the end of the weekend that someone told me that's who it was. So she might well have been writing this book, because I remember she went back, we stayed in the same B&B, and I remember she went back to do some writing in the evening, so maybe she was even writing that then. So yeah, that's my first choice. And my second choice is The Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. My mum bought me this one as well. There we go. It says she's 36, Kiko doesn't fit in. She's 36 years old, she's never had a boyfriend, and she's been working in the same convenience store for 18 years. Her parents wish she get a better job. Her friends wonder why she won't get married. But Kiko knows what makes her happy, and she's not going to let anyone take her away from her convenience store. So again, quite a short book. And I've wanted to read this for quite a while. I think my mum bought it for me, I think the Christmas just gone. So yeah, I think this would be a really nice one to read on holiday. The third one I've just decided I'm not taking. And I don't know why I have this. I think someone bought it for me. It's called A Half Forgotten Song by Catherine Webb. It's got really good reviews on Amazon, so I will read it, probably just not on this holiday. It's quite a big book. That's going to take me a while. And it's one of these stories where they're looking at the story in the 1930s, but they're also alongside it telling a story in the present day as well. So I think it will be good. It's not my usual choice, but I've decided I'm going to leave that at home and take the 2 shorter books with me. So that's books and stuff. I feel like I rattled through that quite quickly. But I like to talk about what I'm listening to and what I'm reading, because I love hearing it when other people tell me, because you might discover something you might not have considered before. Yeah, so I hope, I'm not very good at sort of like reviewing things and saying, oh, this is what I think, but hopefully what I said made sense. Other stuff to finish off. I've put my Etsy shop, I've got a little Etsy shop where I just sell some pins, my little Drops of Wonderful pins. I've put it on holiday mode because I'm not going to have time to go to the post office. I went yesterday, so everyone that had ordered before I closed it, everything's on the way. But I've closed it now until I get back, at least when I get back from holiday, because I think I need to take a little break. I sent someone 1 pin when they ordered 4. She was very nice about it, but I think that's an indication that maybe I need to take a little break. And what else did I want to share with you? Oh, Lilia discovered a channel on YouTube called Postmodern Jukebox, and I just want to tell you about it because it is fantastic. I will link it below. It is a group of people who do vintage style covers of modern songs. So our 3 favourites at the moment are their cover, and I'll link all these 3 favourites below as well, is Spice Girls Wannabe, which is done in a kind of 1940s wartime style. And then the sort of lounge jazz version of Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. I think that's possibly my #1 favourite one. And what was the other one? I'll Be There for You by the Rembrandts, featuring the Rembrandts themselves, is one where it takes you, I think, from the 1920s all the way through to the 1990s. They do different types of style of music all the way through, and it is so good. You could get lost in that channel for hours, just like seeing all the different styles and the different musicians and the way they. I don't know how people are that clever, but they are, and thank goodness, because it's entertaining. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend that. That's the postmodern jukebox. What else did I want to say? I think that's it. I'm pretty sure I've talked for about, yeah, probably about half an hour longer than I intended. I'm going to edit this over the course of the week and try to get it out before Friday, because we go away Saturday morning. I hope you enjoyed this little ramble about all the crafty stuff. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I don't often say that, but yeah, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. It lets YouTube know that you've enjoyed my videos, and it will help them recommend you videos similar that you might also enjoy. So don't forget to do that. Thank you to everyone who are new subscribers. I really, really appreciate it, that you take time out of your day to come and just sit for a while and listen to me natter. I really do appreciate it, because I love doing it. And I'm quite clearly quite good at nattering. And I will see you probably in a few weeks now, because we are going into the thick of the August holidays. So I probably, like I said at the beginning, it'll be a little while before I can film a full podcast again. So until that point, have a lovely summer. Enjoy your crochet, enjoy your knitting, enjoy your crafting of choice. And I will see you again very soon. Bye.